Have you never played a hand of poker? Are you nervous about sitting down to play some hands? Does the very thought of stacking chips strike fear into your heart? Then you've come to the right place. Hello, I'm Adam Gill, Twitch streamer and full-time poker player, and I'm here today to deliver unto you a beginner's guide to poker. So what is poker? Well, it's a mixed strategy game. It's like chess or Go in the sense that it's a game of skill first and foremost, but it's unlike those games in the sense that there are elements of random chance that determine who's going to win a particular hand or on a particular day. A few of the main areas involved are maths, and while you certainly won't need a PhD to understand what's going on, a little bit of mathematical ability will help you a lot, as you'll be doing some calculations to work out how likely you are to win the pot, how good odds you need to make a particular call, and combinatorically what hands are most likely for your opponent to have. There's also some game theory involved, understanding which strategies best counteract your opponent's strategies, and in what situations you want to exploit your opponent's strategies rather than remaining yourself unexploitable. Lastly, however, there is some psychology involved in this game, understanding your opponents and how they're likely to play hands and react to your own moves. I think a couple of important things about poker that are unique to this game are firstly, that anyone can win because of this element of random chance, and even the best players only have a slightly better chance of winning than the worst players in this game, which I think makes it very, very appealing to everyone. And I think more importantly than that, anyone can become good. Anybody can devote themselves to this game and put in the hours of study to really work out which strategies are profitable in the long run. And I think that's very special about this game. So why play poker? Well, first and foremost, I think it's a great competitive outlet for people. It's just you and the other players. You're on your own. It's a battle of wits. And I think for anyone who enjoys this kind of mental stimulus, poker is a really, really enjoyable outlet for that. There's a lot of emotion in this game. Some of the experiences are truly unique to it, whether it's the thrill of running a big bluff or the elation of winning a tournament. For a lot of people, this can be a great hobby. You can get together with your friends or down at a local casino on a Saturday night and have a great time playing the game. But for some people, it can be more serious. It can be a profession or source of side income. I think the most valid reason to play this game, however, is for the community. I know over the 3 years that I've played, I've made some incredible, smart and laid-back friends. And I know that you will too. Another reason to play this game that I didn't mention is that there are some transferable life skills that you will learn. In particular, the skills of dealing with adversity and staying level-headed even in chaotic times. Remaining rational and making the best decisions even when it's unclear as to exactly the outcomes and consequences of your actions. I think these are really, really valuable life skills, and it's helped me a lot in other areas of my life over the past few years. So now that you're along for a ride, we'll get into the rules. In No Limit Texas Hold'em, which is the most popular form of poker, we have a hand of 5 cards, and we often need to decide who has the best hand, and this is the chart by which that is determined. So the top there, you'll see a royal flush. I've seen maybe 2 of those in 3 years, so don't worry too much about them. Then you have a straight flush, which is 5 cards of the same suit and in a row. 4 of a kind, a full house, which is a 3 and a 2. A flush, which is 5 cards of the same suit. A straight, which is 5 cards in a row. 3 of a kind, 2 pair, 1 pair, and high card. A few things to keep in mind about this chart. When 2 people have the same hand category, whoever has the higher version of that hand is going to win. Some examples. Ace, 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 deuce 7 would be beaten by ace, 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 deuce king. King, king, queen, queen, jack would be beaten by ace, ace, 10, 10, jack. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 would be beaten by 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc, etc. Other thing is that aces are high, generally, but for the purposes of a straight, they can be either high or low, but not both. If this seems pretty daunting at first, don't worry about it too much. It will become second nature to you after just a few hands of playing, and you can find it anywhere on Google, and most people will be fine with you having it out of the table, at least your first few times playing. So now we're going to get into some actual gameplay. This is a hand I played online last year. At the start of a hand, one player has this thing. It's called the button. And this rotates around the table every hand, so everyone gets a turn at being it. The person to the left of the button posts a bet called the small blind, and the person to their left posts a normally bigger bet than that called the big blind. These are agreed upon at the start of the game. In this case, it was 10 cent, 25 cent. And then everyone is dealt 2 cards. In our case, we got dealt the 8 of clubs and the 8 of diamonds. You see your 2 cards, nobody else does. Then play begins with the person to the left of the big blind. And they have 3 options. They can fold, which is to take their hand and throw it away, give up on the hand. They can call, which is to place a bet equal to the previous bet. Or they can raise, which is to place a larger bet than that to get other people to pay more. So in this instance, this first player decides to call, so he has to place 25 cents out since that's the previous bet. And play rotates clockwise, and this player has the same 3 options. He could fold, call, or raise. In this instance, he decides to fold, he just gets rid of his cards, and he's now out of the hand. This player can now fold, call, or raise, and here he decides to raise to $1.10. In No Limit Texas Hold'em, when you raise, you have to make it at least twice the previous bet, but there's no upper limit other than the money that's in your stack. So in this instance, he has about $25 in his stack, so he could raise anywhere from 50 cents to about $25. Then the play continues round, and if this player wanted to call, he would now have to place $1.10. That's the minimum he can place to stay in the hand, otherwise he has to fold. Here he decides to fold, as does the small blind, and the action is on us. We have a pretty good hand here with our pocket 8s, so we decide to call. And then this player has the same 3 options, fold, call, or raise. He decides to call. When all of the bets have been matched by all of the players still in the hand, all of the money gets shoved into the middle, and we see what's known as the flop, which is 3 random cards off the top of the deck, placed face up for everyone to see. In this case, it's King of Spades, the 8 of Hearts, and the 9 of Clubs. Play then starts from the left of the button, going clockwise. So in this case, it would mean that would be on us. We can either check, which is to knock the table, just pass the action onto the next player without placing any more money in. Or we can bet, which is to place a bet of our own. In this instance, we decide to check. This player has the same 2 options, can check or bet. He decides to check. And this player can bet or check. He decides to bet $2.20. Once again, the minimum bet he can place is just 25 cents, just 1 big blind. But there's no maximum that he can bet other than what's in his stack. Then the play is back on us. Now that a bet has been placed, we have the same 3 options as before. We can fold, we can call, or we can raise. In this instance, we have a very, very strong hand with 3 of a kind, so we decide to raise. Again, has to be at least 2 times. We make it the minimum possible bet that we can do here, which is $4.40. Plays on this man. He can fold, call, or raise. If he calls, he has to match $4.40. He decides to fold, and this player decides to call. Again, all of the bets have been matched by the players that are still in the hand, so the money goes into the middle, and we see what's known as the turn, which is a 4th community card. In this case, it's the Queen of Spades. Same thing happens again, starts from the button's left, going clockwise, and we have 2 options, check or bet. In this case, we decide to bet. Bet's been placed. This person can fold, call, or raise. He decides to call. Once again, the bets have been matched. Same thing happens. We see what's known as the river, which is the last community card. In this case, it's the Jack of Diamonds. We can bet, check, or bet. We decide to bet. In this instance, the other person only has $14, so we've essentially moved all in here. He can only now fold or call because he doesn't have any more money to place on top. There are 2 ways to win the pot. Firstly, if by the time the river has come out, all bets are matched, so in this instance, if he called, we would show down our hands, and whoever could make the best 5-card hand, as per the hand rankings, from any combination of their 2 cards and the 5 cards in the middle, wins all of the money in the middle. So for example, if he called and had in his hand a king and a queen, then we would beat him because we can make 3 of a kind with our 2 8s in our hand and the 8 from the board, and he can only make 2 pair. Whereas if he called and he had a 10 in his hand, he would beat us and win the money in the middle because he would have a straight with king, queen, jack, 10, 9. The other way to win money is to get everyone else to fold. If there's only one person left in the hand, then they win all of the money in the middle uncontested. And this is often known as bluffing when this happens. And that's basically the whole game. You can win money by betting with strong hands and getting other people to put more money into the middle with worse hands, or by getting people to fold and winning the pot uncontested. I'm going to spend the rest of the video giving some very basic strategy advice for newer players. Now, don't be intimidated by what you see here. This is what we call a card matrix. It's just a visual representation of all of the different combinations of 2 cards that you can be dealt. So we see along the middle diagonal here, we have all of the pocket pairs, which is when you have 2 cards of the same rank. On the right, we have the suited combinations when both of your cards are of the same suit, and the offsuit combinations where they are of different suits. Now, the first piece of strategy advice I have for newer players is to be patient and limit the number of starting hands that you are playing. And the reason for this is that if you play bad hands that are starting hands, you will get into more difficult situations after the flop. You'll have more marginal strength hands that you're not sure what to do with. You'll lose more money when other people have good hands. And you won't have the best hand particularly often. Whereas if you stick to playing only the best starting hands, then you will have much easier decisions post-flop. You don't have to make as many decisions because you're not involved in as many hands, and it will be much easier to play the game this way. As for what a range like that looks like, we start with the absolute best possible hands in the game, which is aces, kings, queens, and ace-king. These are really strong hands, and you should play them basically no matter what happens. Then we have the sort of next category of hands. They're pretty good hands. The pocket pairs down to about 6s are all pretty good. They always have a pair post-flop, and they can make 3 of a kind, which is pretty good. The suited hands are better than the off-suited hands because they have more chance of making a flush. All of the ace-sex suited is pretty strong, as well as the other high card and suited type hands. We can even go for some of these suited connectory type hands like 10-9 suited and 9-8 suited. And we play significantly fewer of the offsuit hands. So this is about 15.5% of the possible hands, and I think this is a good place to start from. Obviously, as you get more experienced, you'll be able to play a few more of these hands, and you'll understand when you can get away with playing more hands, and when you have to play even tighter than this. But as for a starting player, I think something along these lines will be a good starting point for you to play simple and effectively. As for basic post-flop strategy, it's important to remember those 2 ways of making money. Firstly, we can get our opponent to put money into the middle with the worst hand, or we can get them to fold the best hand. With this in mind, we consider a few things. Firstly, it can be very tempting when you have a very strong hand to just check or call, trap your opponent, deceive them into thinking you have a weak hand. But in actual fact, this is not the correct play the vast majority of the time. What's much more prudent is to bet and raise aggressively to try and put as much money into the middle as possible and get your opponent to put money into the middle when they have the worst hand. This is how you win big pots, this is how you make money in poker. When you have a weak hand, sometimes you'll want to bluff and try and win the pot without seeing your cards, but you don't want to do this all of the time or else you're going to lose a lot of money when your opponent has strong hands. As a result, you want to mostly fold those hands, but you can definitely bluff sometimes, particularly if you sense weakness. When you have a middling strength hand, it doesn't make much sense to bet or raise very aggressively, because if you do so, your opponents are going to call when they have strong hands, and they're going to fold when they have weak hands, and this is the opposite of what we want to happen. So when we have a middling hand, we want to generally control the size of the pot, just check and either call or fold, and remember that the only way we're going to make money with those hands is by calling our opponent's bluffs. That's all from me for today. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you've learned something and are really feeling ready to hit the tables and stick it to your opponents. If you like what you've seen today, I'm going to be making a lot more content for beginners over the next few months, and you can also check out my Twitch stream down in the link below. If you've enjoyed the video today, please hit like and subscribe. Now, go make some money and some memories. Thanks for watching.